You have worked in the same building for 24 years. You know where every light switch is. You know which section gets the morning sun and which corner stays cool in August. You know the smell of it before any patron arrives, that particular quiet of books and dust and climate control that you have never found anywhere else. You returned your name tag at noon on a Friday. You drove home and made tea. You were 52 years old and you were done. Your dividends paid you more last month than your salary ever did. You became a librarian because you loved books. Not because of the money. Everyone who goes into library science understands that the money is not the point. The starting salary was $22,000. You accepted it. You moved into a small apartment 4 blocks from the branch and you walked to work. In year 3 you read a book about dividend investing. It was in the personal finance section. You had placed it on the shelf yourself. You read it over 3 evenings. You went to the bank on Saturday morning. You opened a brokerage account with $600. You bought shares of a dividend index fund. You set up an automatic transfer of $150 per month, with the dividends set to reinvest automatically. You put the account number in a file folder. You did not look at it again for 6 months. 6 months later the account had grown to $1,100. The dividends had added $17. You transferred another $150 on the 1st. You put the folder away. That was the system for 24 years. $150 per month for the first 8 years. $200 when you got the senior librarian position. $250 when you turned 40. $300 in the final 6 years. The dividends reinvested every quarter. The fund grew. The reinvested dividends bought more shares. Those shares paid more dividends. Those dividends bought more shares. $820,000. And the dividends now pay $54,000 per year. Your salary at retirement was $44,000. You did not plan this exactly. You did not sit down with a spreadsheet in year 3 and project that your dividends would exceed your salary in 24 years. You just made a decision, $150 on the 1st, dividends reinvested, do not touch it. Then you lived your life. Your life was quiet. You lived in the same small apartment for 11 years and then bought a modest house 3 miles from the library when the mortgage payment was less than your rent had been. You paid it off in year 18. You drove the same car for 9 years. You replaced it with a similar car. You ate dinner at home most nights. You took 1 trip per year, planned carefully and budgeted carefully, and the trips were to places you genuinely wanted to see. You were not depriving yourself. You were organizing your priorities. The priorities were the books, the walks, the 1 good trip per year, the people you chose carefully, and the $150 that became $200, that became $300, that became $820,000 and $54,000 per year in dividends. Your colleagues at the library had various relationships with money. The branch manager earned more than you and spent more than she earned. She had a second car for her daughter and a beach house she rented out more than she used it, and a credit card balance that moved from card to card in balance transfers. She was intelligent and organized in every way except this one. You watched this for 24 years and said nothing. You brought your lunch. You renewed your library card to get ebooks for free. You waited for movies to come to the free streaming service. You did not have cable. You had the internet and the library, and it was enough. The crashes were quiet when you were a librarian. In 2008, the account dropped from $112,000 to $67,000. You were 38 years old. The dividends still came in. Reduced, because the fund value was lower, but they came. You reinvested them. You transferred $200 on the 1st. You worked your shift. A patron asked you to recommend something by someone he had not read before. You recommended 3 books. He came back the next week to tell you which one he liked. In 2020, the account dropped from $640,000 to $480,000. $160,000 disappeared between February and April. The library closed. You worked from home, answering reference questions by email. The dividends continued. You continued. You transferred $300 in March and April and May. In June, the library reopened and you went back. The account recovered and kept growing. The dividends grew with it. In 2021, the dividends paid $38,000. In 2022, $41,000. In 2024, $54,000. Your salary was $44,000. The morning you realized the dividends had exceeded your salary, you were at your kitchen table with a cup of tea. It was a Tuesday. You had a shift at noon. You looked at the quarterly dividend statement and divided by 3 to get the monthly number and multiplied by 12 to get the annual number, and the number was larger than the number on your pay stub. You finished the tea. You went to work. You renewed a patron's library card. You helped a teenager find sources for a history project. You placed an order for 12 new arrivals in the children's section. You did not tell anyone about the dividend number. You started the retirement paperwork in January. You turned it into HR in March. You told your supervisor in April. She asked what you were going to do. You said red. She laughed. She thought you were joking. You were not joking. The last day was a Friday. You shelved the final returns. You answered the last reference question, which was about weather patterns in the Pacific Northwest and required you to pull 2 atlases and a climate science book. You helped a man who came in every Tuesday and Thursday print his grocery coupons, because he did not have a printer at home, and you had helped him do this for 11 years. You handed your name tag to your supervisor. You walked out. You drove home. You made tea. You looked at the brokerage account. $822,000. $54,000 per year in dividends. Tax advantaged, because you had structured it that way over 24 years on the advice of the accountant you saw every spring at his small office near the branch. You are 52 years old. Your former colleagues are working for another 15 years. Your supervisor, who earns more than you ever did, has not thought seriously about retirement yet. The branch manager with the beach house has a 401k that is not where she wishes it were. Nobody at the library knows about the $820,000. You worked quietly for 24 years and you left quietly, and the dividends arrive quarterly and you reinvest some of them and spend the rest, and the math continues to work without your attention. Tuesday morning. No alarm. Tea at 8. Walk to the library, not because you work there but because you are a patron now. You renewed your card last week. The young librarian who checked you in did not recognize you. You did not say anything. You found a book in the personal finance section. You did not need it. You took it out anyway. You walked home. The dividends arrived last Thursday. The amount exceeded your old monthly salary. You sat on the back porch with the book. The morning was clear. You have nowhere to be. The book that changed everything was in the 332 section. Dewey Decimal 332, Financial Economics. You were 28 years old. You had been working at the branch for 3 years. You had placed the book on the shelf yourself, which is how librarians encounter most of the books that change their lives, not by seeking them out, but by handling them and reading the spine and thinking, this one is interesting. You read it over 3 evenings. Not quickly. You were not a fast reader of things that mattered. You made notes on a legal pad. You drew diagrams of compound interest curves. You wrote down the phrase dividend reinvestment plan and underlined it twice. Saturday morning you went to the bank. You opened a brokerage account with $600. You bought shares of a dividend index fund. You set the dividends to reinvest automatically. You set the monthly transfer at $150. You put the account number in a folder in the filing cabinet under the label "Not Urgent." And then you went back to work. The choice to let dividends reinvest automatically is the choice that, 24 years later, explains most of the $820,000. When a dividend comes in and you spend it, you have income. When a dividend comes in and buys more shares, you have more shares that will pay more dividends that will buy more shares. The difference between these two behaviors, over 24 years, is enormous. Not because of any individual dividend. Because of the accumulation of dividends buying dividends over 24 years without your involvement. You did not touch the account. For 24 years you did not touch the account. You confirmed the monthly transfer on the first of each month. You noted the quarterly dividend reinvestment. Twice a year you looked at the balance for a full minute before closing the screen and returning to whatever book was in your hands. You read a great deal of books in 24 years. You are a librarian. This is what librarians do. You read widely and you recommended what you read to patrons who asked and sometimes to patrons who did not ask but looked like they needed a recommendation. You developed a reputation, over the years, as someone who could find the right book for any question. Nobody ever asked you the question that would have led to the Dewey 332 section and the dividend fund and the account that now pays $54,000 per year. The branch head asked you once, near the end, why you were retiring at 52. She had a pension and a 401k and she was planning to work until 65. She asked if you were sure. She said the actuarial tables suggested you had 30+ years of retirement to fund. She said this with genuine concern. You said you had done the math. She nodded. She seemed satisfied but uncertain. You did not elaborate. The math, $820,000 in a dividend index fund paying approximately 6.5% annually equals $53,300 per year in dividends. Your expenses, which have been consistent for 15 years, run at approximately $38,000 per year. The difference goes back into the fund. The fund grows. The dividends increase slightly each year as the underlying companies increase their payouts. You will not run out of money. The math, conservatively extended to age 90, shows the account growing rather than depleting. You will have more money at 90 than you do now, assuming the market continues its historical behavior, which it will not do in any given year but will do over any 30-year period. You explain none of this to the branch head. She would have had questions. The questions would have revealed the account balance. The account balance would have required explaining that a librarian making $44,000 a year had $150 per month in 1999 and had never stopped. The permanence of the $150 is the thing that is hard to explain. It sounds small. It was small. But the small amount, invested in a dividend fund with reinvestment on for 24 years, is not small. In year 1 the account earned $19 in dividends. The $19 bought a fractional share. The fractional share earned more dividends. You did not see the $19. You never saw the dividends. They moved through the account invisibly, buying more of what you had already decided to buy. In year 10 the account earned $1,100 in dividends. You did not see the $1,100. It became more shares. In year 20 the account earned $32,000 in dividends. You did not see the $32,000. It became more shares. In year 24 the account earned $54,000 in dividends. You left the library and the $54,000 was waiting. The house was paid off in year 18. You had bought it in year 11 when the mortgage payment was less than the rent on the apartment. You paid it off early, one extra principal payment per year in the years when the budget allowed. When the mortgage was gone, the housing cost dropped to property taxes and maintenance, approximately $5,000 per year. This is where most of your $38,000 annual expense went: $5,000 for housing, $8,000 for food, $5,000 for transportation, $4,000 for health insurance, $16,000 for everything else. Everything else is the category that determines most financial outcomes, and everything else in your case was small because your choices were deliberate. You did not eat out often. You did not travel expensively. You did not upgrade things that worked. You drove the same car for 9 years, then bought a similar car, which you still drive. The colleagues who thought they felt sorry for you, you could see it in how they spoke to you in the break room. The slight tone of sympathy when the conversation turned to retirement plans or vacations or new purchases, did not understand that you were not economizing out of lack. You were economizing out of choice. The choice created the account. The account creates $54,000 per year. The last patron you helped before returning your name tag was a 16-year-old boy who needed sources for a paper on the Federal Reserve. You pulled 3 books and showed him the government document database and explained the difference between primary and secondary sources. He said thank you without looking up from his phone. You said you are welcome and you meant it. You shelved the returns. You said goodbye to the staff you liked and nodded to the ones you did not. You handed the name tag to your supervisor. You walked out through the same doors you had walked through for 24 years. You drove home. You made tea. You opened the brokerage account. $822,000. Dividends last quarter, $13,500. Reinvested. You closed the screen. You picked up a book. It was from the library. You are a patron now. The dividend arrives next quarter. You will not see it. It will buy more shares. Tuesday morning. No alarm. Tea at 8. Quiet house. Paid off house. Everything is fine. $820,000. 24 years. $150 a month that became $200, that became $300, that became something nobody in that library ever guessed. You were a librarian. You are done.